Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerds Only podcast. You are here with your hairiest host, Mother Goose.
And your inconsistent host, Cosmar.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Just us.
Just us two.
There have never been other hosts ever.
Nuh-uh. If you have heard other hosts, they're just figments of your imagination. They ain't real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only are we going to gaslight you, we're going to girl boss, and we're going to gatekeep. Yeah.
The trio, the trinity of... I don't know what's the trinity of, but it's a trinity for sure. Those three things play together.
Listen, we're going to be talking about some cool games today.
Mm-hmm. But
the coolest ones, we're keeping to ourselves.
Yeah. Actually, we don't share the coolest stuff we've learned over the week. We actually keep that. We just have an hour before the podcast where we just talk to each other. And then we're like, yeah, we should probably record now.
Yeah, that's the good one, actually.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get access to that podcast. We gatekeep that podcast.
Real. Okay, so today we're kind of talking about 2025, looking forward. Books, games, movies. I do think this conversation's probably going to be mostly video game focused.
Mm-hmm.
However, Isles of the Emberdark is coming out this year.
Interesting.
That is the Sixth of the Dusk sequel. It is Secret Project number 5 from our good friend Brandy Sandy.
Yes, one of the most interesting, or not, maybe not the most interesting, a very interesting environment made by Sanderson, which I didn't realize was going to be getting another book.
Yeah.
But we have talked about this before. But yes, very excited for that.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of books I'm really excited to read this year. Isles of the Emberdark might be number 1. Definitely top 3 for sure. And I think it's the only book that I'm really looking forward to reading that's actually coming out this year.
Right. That is completely fair. I don't know many books, but honestly, even if I did, Isle of the Emberdark would probably still be on the top of the list.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Sixth of the Dusk was so interesting. It's a really cool world.
It is. And I read Arcanum Unbounded, and before each story, there's a little snippet of information about it. And I had thought that it was just like a one-off. Like, I feel like I remember reading, "We're never going to visit this world again" type of thing. So I was very surprised to hear about it. But I'm very happy that it's getting some more installments, because it seems to play a lot more into like the ecosystem of a jungle and stuff like that. And so that's super cool. And Sanderson's done so much cool stuff with all the science-y things. So
yeah, and we've gotten avians, right? Is that what they're called? The birds?
I'm actually not sure. It's been a few years since I've read it.
Yeah. There's at least 2 in Stormlight Archive that I can think of off the top of my head. Which, again, we don't know much about them, but they're there. So, same thing. Just really excited to learn more about this world.
Are there birds in Stormlight?
Mm-hmm.
I know there's sky eels. I didn't realize there was, like, birds.
Yeah, well, that's the fun thing about Roshar. Most of the people call them, like, no matter what bird it is, they refer to it as a chicken.
Oh, that's funny.
It's lists, minor spoilers for maybe Oathbringer, but mostly Rhythm of War. It's kind of Lift's story. I think Maraise has one, and someone else has one as well.
Okay, so they're actual birds. They're not just chickens.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there are actual chickens on Roshar.
Right. I think the Shin took some.
Yeah.
Or not the Shin. Well, I'm going to stop myself there. That's getting into spoilers for book 5.
Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up. Quick note, we are doing our spoiler cast for Book 5 next week. Very excited for that one.
Very excited.
But sorry, you were saying?
No, I just, there has been mentions of, like, actual chickens before, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the chicken is Roshar's just word for bird.
That's peak. His writing is peak.
Peak, I'm afraid. But yes, so Isles of the Emberdark, this was Secret Project 5, so if you're looking forward to read it, if you didn't back the Kickstarter, I will have to break your heart and say that us normal people won't get access to it till 2026.
So foul.
But I do think, originally I thought it was a year-long exclusive for the Kickstarter. It turns out it's only like a 3 to 6 month exclusive. So it's not going to be that bad till we can, till everyone else can read it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're lucky. We have some family who actually did back the Kickstarter, so we'll get access to the book at
We'll
some
just pass
point.
that book around.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it for books. Tons I'm going to read, but the only one that's coming out this year. Movies. I think the MCU might be back.
You think it might be back?
I think it might be back. This Brave New World looks really good. Have you seen the trailers for it at all?
Is that the one with Captain America?
Captain America, Brave
Red
New
Hulk?
World.
Interesting. You think it's going to be good?
I think so. I really like Sam Wilson's Captain America, both the comic version and the MCU version.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting to see Red Hulk. Harrison Ford is coming in. You can't go wrong with Harrison Ford.
A classic.
And then on top of that, I think Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four movie are all coming out this year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty big year for the MCU.
The Fantastic Four movie sounds pretty cool. Is Thunderbolt the guy that had like the two-pronged thing on his head?
I think you're thinking of... Oh, shoot. What is that guy's name? From Doctor Strange?
Yes, the Multiverse of Madness.
He's the leader of the Inhumans. I promise we're nerds. I promise.
We know this stuff.
The name's just escaping us right now. He gets his head blown up.
Yeah, I guess the sound waves just like explode the back of his cranium for some reason.
Bing. Editor Elijah here. We were referring to Black Bolt. Okay, that's all. Goodbye now. No, the Thunderbolts are a anti-hero Avengers team. In the comics, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I do think they're going to lean more into them being a group of good guys in this film, just more morally ambiguous.
Oh, maybe like a little bit like a Deadpool type of thing?
Yeah, but maybe not as crass.
Yeah, no.
So it's going to be Winter Soldier. I think his official new title is Iron... I was going to say Iron Patriot, but that's not right. Bing, I'm back, and I probably will be back a couple times this episode, just a heads up. But here I'm referring to John Walker, a.k.a. U.S. Agent. It's going to be Red Guardian, Ghost from the second Ant-Man movie, and maybe Hyperion, which is... No, it's not Hyperion. It's another Marvel-esque Superman type hero, which I feel bad. I should have double-checked all these names. I swear I know who I'm talking about. Bing, I'm back. Here I'm referring to Sentry. But yeah, I don't know. The trailer for that one looked really good. Fantastic Four, we know it's going to be Pedro Pascal as Reed. He always does a really good job no matter what role he's in, so... I'm actually kind of feeling confident for the MCU this year.
I didn't realize there was so much stuff happening. All I've really known is Marvel Rivals,
which has been crushing it.
That game is its peak. It's got some strange skins for sure, but the gameplay's still fire.
Listen. Is it a Gooner game? Maybe a little bit.
Maybe just a tad.
But it's fun too.
It's not just a Gooner game. It's more. I swear.
I'm not thinking about Sue Storm at all right now.
Not at
Guys,
all.
please.
Not at all. Actually, we need to take a break from the podcast.
I play her because I like to heal. Please. But yeah, Marvel, I don't know. Maybe all these movies are really bad, but I think, they kind of stumbled a little bit after the Infinity Saga. They've been some really good Multiverse Saga things, some really just kind of okay things.
Yeah.
But I think they're back on track.
I feel like at this point in time, it makes sense that maybe if the the company had seen like, the audiences maybe want better stories, that at this point in what's being released, they've had the time to make that change. And so hopefully now maybe they have some better story writers, are trying to show some more love for the craft instead of just creating a bunch of stuff that's seemed like it was made just to be there, or just for people to buy.
Yeah. And I think, I can't fault Marvel for wanting to experiment a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The Infinity Saga in itself was an experiment. So I think for them to kind of try something new with the movies and Disney Plus streaming series dual format for storytelling, I'm glad they tried it. Did it work out as well as maybe them or us would have hoped? Definitely not.
No.
But they tried something different, and I appreciate that.
That's completely fair. I know at least with some of the last few things, which I can't talk a ton because I didn't watch much after Endgame, but the things that I did watch seemed to be kind of at best mid in terms of like impactfulness of story, just for me personally.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like the same level as the things that came before. It didn't feel as like realistic.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping maybe if they've got, Pedro Pascal and Harrison Ford, hopefully it's some good stories that, since they have maybe some not bigger named actors, but very well known actors.
Yeah. But bigger's good because, they have to pay these actors a lot of money, so they got to get their money back, right?
Yeah, it's like it's got to be good stuff or else they're going to go bankrupt,
Yeah.
So
I'm feeling pretty good. And maybe a year from now, I'm going to look back and say, sorry, audience, those were hot dookie. My bad to hype them up. That's on me. But I feel pretty confident that's not going to happen.
yeah, who knows? Hopefully it won't. Hopefully they try to tell meaningful stories with, good fight scenes and good character. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Moving on to video games, though. This year's going to be insane.
Yes, we have a crazy lineup for video games this year.
I think we just go through the big three companies, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
We'll start with the Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
The Switch 2 just got announced.
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling about the design?
I honestly think it's fine. I don't care too much about the design as long as it could run games better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more concerned about the performance of the console itself. I like that they made it bigger. I'm not sure yet about plugging in the Joy-Cons instead of sliding them.
Yeah, that's my worry as well.
I'll just have to kind of wait and see to see like how that practically works out. Like if I'm sitting in a plane or something, and like trying to plug it in or something.
And there's some turbulence and a bump, but yeah.
It's like, oh, it's broken.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see for that. But as long as it like if the games don't run super crappy on like they sometimes do for the regular Switch, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be like, they did good.
Yeah, I'm in the same place. I think the Joy-Cons are my worry too, the snapping in, and I was hoping they'd make them a little wider as well. They made them longer, which is good. It's going to help, but I have big man hands and my hands cramp up playing on the Switch.
I got big boy hands.
So I think the longer may help, but I probably will have to buy a third-party larger controller for the Switch 2, like I did with the first Switch as well.
Oh, man, yeah.
Which, it's not the end of the world, but also at the same time, I shouldn't have to,
Yeah, like I have a friend who has like a full-blown controller that can slide into the Switch.
Yeah.
But now it can't do that anymore. So he's just going to have to buy another one because,
Right.
they have to snap in. That kind of sucks a little bit. But
Yeah.
I don't remember if they were or not, but I hope the buttons are a little farther apart from each other.
Yeah, they were kind of close.
It's kind of pressing multiple buttons at once on accident sometimes. Like, oh.
But yeah, you mentioned power earlier. The rumors I've seen is that it's roughly going to be about the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 generation levels of power, which is going to be pretty great for a handheld.
Yeah, if I can play like Dark Souls something legitimately. I know you can get Dark Souls on the regular Switch, but like if I could play a game like Dark Souls or something just handheld, like on a plane, and it actually looks and runs good, that's a huge selling point. I'd immediately buy that.
Yeah. Which, the big thing is there's so many other handhelds out there right now. The Switch 2 came out with the first Switch came out with pretty much zero competition.
Mm-hmm.
The second Switch is coming out now there's the Steam Deck, Asus has one, and I think there's at least one or two other pretty big, like, name brand handheld competitors for the Switch. And I honestly, probably all of these are better handhelds, but where Switch is really going to win the market is their games. You know, they're so greedy with their exclusives, but it's going to sell consoles.
I mean, it works. Unfortunately, it's just business tactics. You know, if no one else can have their games, then you kind of have to buy their product.
Right.
Especially as their games evolve, you're going to need the better tech to actually run the games they're putting out.
Yeah. Which, talking about games, we know for sure there's going to be Mario Kart 9, which, I mean, it's another Mario Kart. It's going to be fun. We're going to love it.
It's going to be peak.
Yeah. I'm calling it here Metroid Prime 4 launch title. And if it's not, I will cry.
As everyone, we've been waiting for Metroid 4 for quite a while.
They announced it when they announced the Switch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Surely by now.
Right.
Surely.
Which it went through development hell, so, you know, I try to give them some slack. But also...
That's insane. Since the Switch's release?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, which, it came out in 2017, so the announcement was either early 2017 or late 2016, so, yeah. Like 8 to 10 years we've been waiting now.
It's like cyberpunk level of just waiting for the game to come out.
Real.
Oh, man. Hopefully, maybe they just, like, scratched it and were like, let's just make it for the Switch, too. Let's just go ahead and start on it now so they can have a great game.
Yeah.
Hopefully. That would suck if you're going to have to wait a few more years because, now we got to make it for the Switch, too.
Right. I think moving over to PlayStation, we have not gotten a state of play yet that I'm aware of. We probably will get one soon. The only big game I can think of for PlayStation right now is Ghost of Jotun, which I think, there'll probably be a couple more by the end of the year, but that's the only one I know off the top of my head. And that one looks peak. It's the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, which did really well.
Yes. I am... As we've talked a little bit, I kind of want to get a PS5 just so I can play Ghost of Jotun.
Yeah.
Some of those games coming out. Because, that game looks amazing. So excited to at least watch someone play it, if not play it myself.
Yeah. And other gamers have said it. I'm not the first one, but this is the year. This is the year of strong women with swords.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited.
Yeah. Wasn't there some people who were like mad when they saw the trailer? Like, oh, it's a woman now.
Yeah. Which
so bonkers.
There's always going to be people like that. But listen, I like a strong woman with the sword. What can I say?
If she wants to swing around a sword and be super cool, she can swing around the sword.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah. But there's Ghost of Jotun, The Witcher 4, which I'm not sure if that's actually going to come out this year. But there's literally like 10 to 12 strong women with sword games coming out this year, and I'm so excited. It's gonna be big.
After Blue Eye Samurai, all the people were like, "We need more of this."
Real. But yeah, neither of us have played Ghost of Tsushima, so we can't. I don't think we can really talk much about Ghost of Jotun because we don't really have a good comparison for it. That is something I hope will have changed by the end of this year. You know, I definitely intend to play Ghost of Tsushima and then Ghost of Jotun. I also am really worried that that's not the right name. Is it Yotai?
Here, I'll look it up.
Thank you. Hey, you're peak.
You know, I appreciate that. Oh, it's Yotei. Or
Yotei.
Like, it's Yotei. Is that Yotei or Yotai?
I'm just going to go back and edit us saying it correctly over all of them.
It's going to be one of those weird AI things where it's like, oh yeah, I love the ghost of Yotai.
Chat, my bad, chat. What we can talk a lot about, though, I think, is Xbox lineup for this year.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be peak. This like last year was really good. It was a little dry there, but then they had Call of Duty, Flight Simulator 2024, and Indiana Jones all come out within like a month of each other. So they had a really great end of year. This year they're starting strong. We've got Avowed in February, South of Midnight in March or April, and then we have Doom: The Dark Ages in May. And then end of year, we'll have The Outer Worlds 2, Fable, and whatever their next Call of Duty is. So,
Yeah.
I mean, 6 or 7 just really solid first-party games. Then there's also Ninja Gaiden 4, which apparently is being considered. It's made by Platinum Games, but Xbox funded it and is publishing it. So they are considering that a first-party as well. So, yeah, just a really solid lineup for them.
Yeah. Crazy lineup. Very excited. I'm already seeing some discourse online about Doom the Dark Ages, though.
Yeah?
There's been, so they removed the 3D, or not 3D animations. They removed the kind of animations of whenever you'd melee a demon, you know how it went to a small cutscene?
Yeah.
Now it's just like you kick them and they fly back. At least that's what some of the gameplay clips have shown.
Look like, yeah.
So I've seen a little bit of discourse where some people are like, oh, this sucks. Where's my, gruesome killing? And some people are like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to watch a cutscene every single time I kill a demon now.
Yeah, they said something strange. Did you watch the trailer?
I did not.
Okay, they said the glory kills are what they're called. They said something about them being more like customizable, or you do them how you want them, something along that line. So
Interesting.
they've definitely made a change to the glory kills, but I don't know exactly what that's going to look like.
Okay, so we just kind of have to wait until it comes out then.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a lot more in depth than just kicking, but it may not be as good as Doom Eternal.
Right. That is completely fair. I hope it's more in depth than just kicking and they go flying backwards, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Which something they talked about is making each of these new Doom games feel very different. Doom 2016 was like a run and gun. Eternal was they talked about having a lot of vertical movement and a lot of speed. And this one's all about being like a tank.
Oh, okay. So kind of like the Warhammer secret level episode where you're just kind of walking through the units, just Okay.
So I'm actually really hyped for it. I think a big part of the Doom community probably will be disappointed because like the peak Doom players really took advantage of the verticality and the speed that Eternal gave. But I love playing a big tanky character.
I mean, hey, you feel invulnerable or invincible, it's peak.
Yeah. And they talked about having a little more of like open, not quite open world, but maybe like open zone kind of, where there are multiple smaller open worlds where you get to do the level how you want. You can go about it however you want, which I'm kind of excited for as well. It's more melee focus, I think, is going to be really cool. The guns still look really cool, though. Getting to be in a mech and on a dragon's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah.
The male fantasy, really.
Exactly.
Just
Honestly,
male fantasy, the game.
I just get to be a tank and ride dragons and just, yep.
Yeah.
That sign me up. Bang, bang, bang. Here's my money. Take it.
Real. Fable, I think, is going to be really good. We haven't gotten a lot of gameplay about that one, but the original Fable games had a really cool morality system to the point where it would alter your character's look based on how good or evil you were.
Wow.
So, like, the more evil you were, your skin would change and be more grotesque. It's been a long time since I played any of the Fable games, so maybe, like, there might be, like, horns or stuff like that, but I can't remember exactly. But
is Fable the, like, cutesy art game? I'm trying to remember what...
It did have a more cartoonish art style.
Yes.
But
it's like with the fox, right? Or...
Are you thinking of Tunic?
I'm thinking of Tunic. That's what I'm thinking about.
No, that's okay. No, Fable, it's a third-person RPG, which the new one is going to be third-person RPG as well, but it's got a more realistic art style, which it's Playground Games, the people who made the Forza games.
Oh, interesting.
Which, I mean, I'm not a big racing fan, but I can appreciate Forza for just how, like, amazing their games look.
Yeah, they do a very good job. And also, is Fable going to be... Is that like an exploration type game?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
That's because Forza has a very good job of like exploring the map and finding different cars and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's a really interesting choice for studio to make Fable, because in terms of game types, I mean, they almost couldn't be further apart. But as well as they've done on the Forza games, I still think Fable's going to be amazing. And they're probably really excited to do something different.
Yeah. No, it's always cool to see gaming companies kind of branch out their norm, I guess is one way to put it. So that'll be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah. And I think my most anticipated of this year, which was also my most anticipated of last year, is Avowed. This is Obsidian Entertainment new fantasy RPG. It does take place in the Pillars of Eternity world, which Pillars of Eternity has some really cool lore, but the gameplay is just not my favorite. It's like a point and click RPG. That may not be the best way to describe it, but I could only play like 5 minutes before I was like, it's not for me.
Yeah, this gameplay is just not it.
Have you watched any Avowed gameplay?
No, I've actually never heard of it until the times that we've talked about it.
It's gonna be really cool. So it's this open world fantasy RPG, or sorry, more like open zone. There'll be multiple portions on the map. I don't think it's a full open world. There's like this soul curse that's infecting this land that you have to go solve and figure out either how to stop it, or maybe there might be an option to make it worse if you want to go down an evil route.
Destroy the world.
But what makes it most exciting for me is, I mean, it's Obsidian. Their RPG aspect, their writing is always phenomenal. That's going to be great. But their combat looks so good.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of versatility to it. You have staffs, wands, and grimoires for magic.
Ooh.
You have melee weapons, swords, maces, axes, maybe spears. Ranged weapons, you have muskets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's that type of fantasy, huh?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be, most of the gameplay for ranged I've seen has been like muskets or whatever the musket pistol equivalent is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure there's like bows and crossbows too. And you can slot right hand, left hand, and you can have multiple weapon presets that you can quickly switch through.
So you're telling me I could have a Grimoire on my right and a flintlock pistol on my left?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Right?
Bang, bang. And then I cast Fireball.
Yeah. It just genuinely looks so good. And they didn't delay it because, okay, initially it did get delayed because it needed more time. But it was supposed to come out in the fall of 2024. And Xbox was like, hey, fam, we just have too many games coming out. So we're just going to push this back. So it was, I'm pretty sure it went gold and was ready to launch in fall of last year. And now it just got another like 3-4 months of extra polishing development. So
yeah, that game's probably going to look real good when it comes out then.
Yeah.
They can fix like, release bugs and stuff like that, hopefully just beforehand.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And it's got a first and third person toggle like Skyrim, so you can play how you want.
Okay.
And the way that their, at least more current RPGs work, is that you get to choose 2 companions to go with you. So it'll be kind of like Baldur's Gate, where you can set up a camp, and then you pick 2 companions to go along with you.
Can't wait to have my fictional wife.
I hate to say it.
No.
Obsidian does not do romance in their games. Dude, I know. No. Well, okay, so they still do romance, just not player character NPC romance. Like Outer Worlds 1, minor spoilers. This is a sci-fi, so you have your spaceship crew. You do help one of the members find love. And that's a really cute story. I really loved it.
What if I want to find love, huh?
Yeah, real.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's okay. I didn't want a fictional wife anyways. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, you got Baldur's Gate at least. I guarantee there's going to be a huge outcry of people saying, hey, where's my romance? Because they did it with the Outer Worlds.
Where's my fantasy romance?
Please. Please. But no, it's one I'm really looking forward to, and one that I think you're really going to enjoy as well.
I'm kind of excited. I didn't realize it was going to be so versatile in magic and even like melee weapons. 'Cause that sounds cool that you could maybe mix builds a little bit.
Yeah.
So that sounds really cool. I'm playing through Silent Hill 3 right now, but I think I am going to try Outer Wilds afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a space RPG or sci-fi RPG sounds pretty enjoyable. So
yeah, and with the sequel coming out, this is a perfect time to play the first one.
yeah.
And I've did a YouTube review on the Outer Worlds if anyone wants to check it out, but I described it as the perfect like dad RPG or the perfect parent RPG, really, where it's like maybe you have a really busy life and you don't have time to invest 300 hours in Skyrim or Starfield or Fallout or Baldur's Gate or whatever, but you still want to do an RPG. Outer Worlds it's great. It's like 35 hours. Avowed is going to be roughly around that length. Outer Worlds 2 will probably be about that length. So I don't know. It's just great for busy people.
Yeah, that is always nice when a game you're able to just like hop on, play for 20 to 30 minutes, then hop off.
Yeah.
And still make meaningful progress through the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we move on to our B topic, anything else you want to talk about this year?
I don't think so. Everything looks amazing. I'm very excited.
Yeah. It's going to be a really solid year for nerds.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Bing, editor Elijah here. So we went through the big three companies, like I said, but this year is going to be just a banger year for games in general. I'm just going to quickly list off some that I think you guys should keep an eye out on. GTA 6, Subnautica 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, Split Fiction, Death Stranding 2, Borderlands 4, Slay the Spire 2, Elden Ring Night Reign, Judas, Light No Fire, Expedition 33. These are all going to be massive games that look amazing, and that's not even everything that's coming out this year. So I really think 2025 is going to be a great year for gamers. So what have you been doing? What's caught your interest lately?
Silent Hill 2.
Hell yeah.
I love that game. I beat it, I think, sometime last week. Oh my goodness, that game has... I always like to say after I consume media, like, oh, that piece of media changed my life. This one legitimately, I've been thinking about nonstop ever since I beat it. Legitimately changed my life. One of the best video game I've probably ever played.
Really?
Yes, seriously. Like it's even better than Outer Wilds or Red Dead Redemption 2, in my opinion. Like,
oh my god!
I know it's putting it up on a pedestal, but like that
wow.
game, like just how it impacted me was insane.
So, real quick before you go forward, this is an older game. How do you feel like it held up?
Okay, so one, I played the HD edition, which I hear is the worst edition to play on.
Interesting.
But I still... Like, once you get used to the tank controls, which is kind of, you push forward, you go forward, you push backwards, you go backward, and then if you push left or right, your character spins.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of fixed camera angles, so it works a lot better that way.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a PS2 vibe. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm playing a really old game. This feels like so outdated. Like, the soundtrack for its time was so... kind of otherworldly that it doesn't feel like you're playing some old Nintendo game.
Yeah.
It kind of, once you get, after about an hour or two of gameplay, you kind of feel enveloped. At least for me, I was enveloped in the world. It didn't matter that the graphics were bad or, bad for the...
yeah.
They don't hold up to today's standard, but like it kind of added to the story of it. I don't know. It added to that feel because a lot of horror games, are kind of based off of that PS2 polygon, or a lot of indie horror games at least.
Yeah, that look. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it would still, even playing it today, it wasn't like, oh man, I wish I was playing the remake instead of this. It was like, this game is so good. Like, it doesn't even matter that it looks as it does. Like, it just feels natural.
Nice, yeah.
The main thing I want to talk about, because there's so many YouTube videos and story analysis on YouTube that could do a much better job than me on talking about how well the game communicates dealing with trauma and grief and accepting your faults and finding forgiveness for yourself through the character of James Sunderland. The main thing I want to talk about, why I love this game so much, is how you get the different endings.
Okay.
So usually in games with different endings, it's all like choice-based. Like, oh, you either side with me or you don't side with me. Or, oh, you need to pick up this item and save this character, and that means you get this ending. But with Silent Hill 2... it's based on the things you interact with, how you interact with other characters, and what health you keep your character at.
Interesting.
It is,
okay.
It's the ending is based how you play the game, not off of the choices you make in the game. Like, it's
interesting.
It's wild. So there's this character named Maria, and depending on like how much you protect her, if you bump into her too much, that could affect your ending. If you ignore her, it like that plays a huge role into it. And then also you get a knife, which someone may have was going to use to do something pretty bad with. And if you examine that knife, it affects your ending.
Yeah.
While you're there, you're looking for your wife who's been dead for 3 years. And if you examine her photo multiple times, that affects your ending.
Yeah.
Like it's just wild how much. And the whole health thing also blew my mind of how often do you use your health items and what do you usually keep your health at? Like if your health is 60% and above most of the time, that contributes towards one ending. If your health is like 40% and below, a lot of the time it contributes towards another ending. Absolutely crazy. And I watched a video on like the math of it all, and it was just if the ending felt so personal, and even more so personal to me after I learned about how you get the different endings.
Yeah.
The fact that more games don't do that is just so bizarre to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So you said the ending was really personal to you, but like, are you happy with the ending you got?
It's one of those bittersweet with more sweet.
Yeah.
So I won't go too in depth. All I'll say is I got the in water ending, which results with James. He's unable to move on, and he puts himself in water, and he stays there for a very long time. And that ending just resonated with me so much with my own like personality and how I interact with my own struggles in life. And it changed my entire mindset because I was like, oh my goodness, I don't like relate to James and the things that he's done or the things he's going through, but like in how he interacts with the things that are happening to him. The ending felt so personal to me because it was how, in that situation, how I probably would have reacted. And that was kind of like a little bit of a gut punch of like, oh my goodness. Like this ending, I feel bad for James, of course, but it feels like with how I played the game, this is the ending that I deserved. Yeah. And that it felt good. It felt like right and almost therapeutic in a sense. So the other two endings are Leave and Maria, and I won't go too much into them. But I feel like if you got either one of those endings, like each of the endings has their own lesson. And I loved I'm a little bit jumping over the place. Basically, before each ending, there's a conversation with a certain character that I think relates to whichever ending you get.
Okay.
There's small changes in dialogue.
Yeah.
And the dialogue that I had for In Water resonated with me so much more than if I had gotten like the Leave ending or the Maria ending. And so it just, the game itself is wonderful in atmosphere. The soundtrack is amazing. I just listened to it because I love the vibe of it.
Yeah.
But just how the game ended and how it treated it was just so impactful, and it resonated. It felt so personal. I was like, oh my goodness. My entire mindset about how I deal with certain things has changed.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
It was a peak game. Cannot recommend it enough.
Okay, so I know Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Outer Wilds are two of your favorite games.
Yeah, Oh, yes, it is Outer Wilds.
Yeah, Wilds. How dare they name them so close? I will never forgive them.
I know.
It's so hard to compare games, right? Because gameplay styles are different, storytelling styles are different.
Right.
Is there anything specific that you feel like Silent Hill 2 did better than these other two that, makes it your favorite game?
I don't think it's that they did it better. It's just Outer Wilds and Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, Red Dead Redemption 2 has two different endings, but it's still, like, it has a very specific story and lesson it is teaching. And that isn't always as applicable. Maybe to some people it is, and it's just a matter of when you play the game and how much it means to you and how much it relates to what you're going through currently. But I feel like because of Silent Hills, like, I think everyone deals with some sort of, maybe not like trauma, but struggle, and everyone messes up. And everyone kind of has to deal with feelings of guilt and shame, and whether they want to accept what they've done and move on, or, give up, or do they, there's different things.
Yeah.
And so it's because of how universal Silent Hill 2's problem was and how it dealt with it. And just because of how personable the ending is to the person, or at least I feel like. I think that's what makes it quote unquote better. because, of course, Outer Wilds and Red Dead Redemption 2 endings are very impactful, but sometimes they're not always super personable.
Right.
The Silent Hill was just like, oh my goodness. I feel like the game is talking to me personally.
That's awesome.
Which may just be me. Who knows? But I was kind of like just sat there dumbfounded. I was like, oh my goodness. This game was incredible.
Hell yeah. I feel like it did really well, if I remember correctly, like when it initially launched, right? Like
Yeah.
It had a pretty good fan base.
I think for a lot of people, it's their favorite Silent Hill game. And I think it's still kind of renowned as one of the best games ever made.
Okay.
I know sometimes it's used as like this is how video games can be art.
Yeah.
Like this is it's an art piece. You look at it and you reflect. And once you're done with the experience, you've learned something new about yourself, no matter what. And I know the remake was, I think, pretty well received. I may be wrong on that, but from what I've seen of it, it looks like an amazing game, and
Nice.
they did really well in the remake. But yes, I think it was widely accepted as a really good game and a very well made game as well.
That's awesome. Well, great. Anything else before we move forward?
No, go play it. Even the old version is great. I know the remake's like $70 right now, so
Yeah.
but go play it seriously. Even if you don't really like horror games, just go try it at least. It's so good.
For sure. Well, so audience, Cosmere update. I am getting really close to being finished.
Woohoo!
Since we talked last, I have finished Tress of the Emerald Sea and Elantris, and am almost done with Shadows of Self. I have a couple chapters left, and actually, I'll probably be done by the time you're listening to this. Jeez.
Crazy.
Elantris was so good.
You liked it?
I did. I think I went in with really low expectations because people said it's, his worst work or his weakest work. It's still phenomenal.
That's fair. It's definitely my least favorite.
Yeah.
It's definitely not bad. It's just, it doesn't really hold up, it feels like, with his other works.
Yeah.
But I can definitely understand if you kind of went in knowing it wasn't going to be something super, super great, how it can definitely be a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. I think the thing that really I didn't enjoy was the naming of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was definitely his weakest. It was really hard to keep track of who people were or who things were. Like, there's the Sheod and the Riod. It was just a lot of things like that. Like, the king's name was kind of similar to one of Raoden's old friend group's guys' names, and I really struggled. But besides that, I still felt like the story was really strong. The political intrigue was interesting. The multiple perspectives was interesting. The chess match that, just for example, how much I struggle with the name. The princess that's the main character and the religious bad guy, whoever they are. Their chess match was really good. Like, one of them would make a move, and I'd be like, oh my God, how's the other one going to recover from this? Like, they just won. And then the other one would do something, and I'd be like, oh my God, it's over. It's over. They won. And the whole book was just each of them making moves back and forth, and I really enjoyed that. And the whole, like, what happened to the Elantrians? Where did this curse come from? How do they solve it? I was really invested as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really, really enjoyed it. And I may have brought up Tress last episode, so if I did, I apologize. But Lumar is my favorite Cosmere world. It's so cool.
Is Lumar the one that Elantris takes place on?
Oh, no. This is the one that Tress takes place on.
Right.
It's the Aether Sea or Spore Sea world.
That one was really cool.
Really curious about Aethers.
Yeah.
Want to know what's going on with them.
I know. It's the amount of mystery in the Cosmere is still insane. But I do definitely agree that Elantris' strongest selling point is its story.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think I could reread it because I know what happens. And the main thing is what's going on? And then you have, the tension is released. You're like, oh, we finally figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's over.
Yeah.
But during that chase, it is really interesting. It's just the writing, and the writing was just a little rough is all. But
And that's okay. Really excited for Elantris 2 and 3.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he does with these characters.
Yeah, 'cause just the story kind of, like, it was pretty much finished. Like, it wrapped up pretty nicely. It could have stayed a standalone.
Yeah, most people that I've talked to about it have said the same. I don't know why. When I finished reading it, I was like, this definitely needs more to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've read it. 'Cause I think it was like the second or third book I read. But I kind of was like, well, what happens next?
Yeah.
You know, yes, they won, but I think there were still some, threats and
Yeah,
such.
Worm is still out there. The other religion that's pretty much controls most of the world is still out there.
It kind of gave me the feel as like the end of Mistborn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mistborn, which slight spoilers for Mistborn. Skip ahead like 30 seconds. But they defeat the Lord Ruler, and then they have to deal with those consequences. I kind of
Right.
got the same feeling of, okay, they regained their homeland. Now what?
Right. Yeah, like, okay, so Stormlight Archive, books 1 through 5 feel like a continuation of each other.
Mm-hmm.
They each are a major part of the story. Mistborn, like, at least Era 1, I think you're right. Like, each book kind of course they connect, and it's important to one another, but each one really feels like its own standalone novel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could see him doing something like that with Elantris.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm interested for the next books to come, because I was very curious. It's like, this journey's been incredible, but like, what are they gonna do now?
Right. And this was, 2005? So it's already been 20 years, and it's going to be a couple more before he starts publishing 2 and 3. So Elantris fans have been waiting.
Yeah, they're like, I've been starved for so long.
And last one is Shadows of Self. I've really, really enjoyed it. I don't know why, but like with Tress of the Emerald Sea, Mistborn Era 2, and I think a couple, maybe some other Cosmere books, I can't remember. He keeps bringing up Khandra, and I'm like, oh, what's this weird thing? What's happening here? And then I'm like, oh, it's just a Khandra. Every single time. Every time it's just a Khandra.
Classic.
Which I love. I love the Khandra. But you'd think I'd learn at this point. It's not quite human, but it's human. It's kind of weird. It isn't injured as normally. Like, I should know these wordings by now.
I wonder what that creature is.
That guy we killed in the last book, he's here now? What's going on there? It's a Khandra. Every time.
Oh, now it all makes sense.
Anyway, it's just my own media literacy.
That is so fair. I really don't remember anything from Mistborn Era 2.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Maybe it's just in one ear, I guess, and out the other.
I'm really enjoying Era 2. So Shadows of Self, that is Bleeder.
Yes.
Actually, I won't say more about Bleeder for spoiler reasons, but that's the name of the villain from the second book.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Bleeder as a villain. I think they're a much better villain than the book 1 villain.
Mm-hmm.
Which I won't say, because that's a pretty big spoiler for book 1, too. Actually figuring out who's behind it. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying it, and I'm excited to read the rest of Era 2.
Yeah. I think the ending of Era 2 was well received.
Yeah.
I personally, unfortunately, wasn't the biggest fan. I'm still kind of salt, but I need to reread it.
Yeah.
I think I was a very different person when I finished Era 2.
Yeah.
So, but hoping you enjoy it, and I'm very curious to see what you have to say once you finish it. It's a very interesting ending.
I think all I have left is the second 2 Era 2 books, Yumi, and some of the Arcanum Unbound.
Well,
Unbounded. And that's it.
yeah. Well, you just have Peak to read then.
Just Peak.
All of it's pretty good. The Lost Metal's the only one that I'm not the hugest fan of.
That's 4, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Book 4. But yeah, Yumi's super enjoyable. I really enjoy that book. And then everything in the Arcanum Unbounded is just really good as well.
Yeah, and I've actually read... I think I've read most of it. I think I've got the Elantris or Cell left, and half of Silence in the Shadows of Hell. It's longer than that, but the Threnodine one.
Silent Force of Silence and the Shadows. No, I know what you're saying.
It's really metal, and I love it, but it's
Yeah.
kind of a long one.
Oh, that's on Threnody, which is my favorite Cosmere system.
Yeah,
everything.
it seems really cool. I'm about
It's so
halfway
cool.
through that one.
I love that story so much.
Oh, and I have White Sands, which I'm trying to debate right now. I'm thinking about getting Omnibus, which is pretty much all of the White Sands content put together in one graphic novel, or waiting till he maybe re-releases the prose version. But I don't, because White Sands Omnibus or the graphic novels is technically not canon. So I'm torn because I really want to know what's going on with them, but also it's not canon. So
Yeah, it is. The story itself is pretty straight. At least I read the prose version that's available in Arcanum Unbounded, and it seemed pretty straightforward. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, the sand here loses its whiteness whenever they use investiture.
yeah.
Which, is kind of referenced a little bit throughout the Stormlight series. Other than that, there's not much like huge lore, I don't think.
If I remember correctly, White Sand was his first novel he ever wrote, and then he rewrote it, and that prose is what they used for the graphic novels. So yeah, I mean, if we're talking early works not being as strong, I could definitely see it being a weaker story.
In which all that's like, it's still definitely enjoyable. It's just kind of like, if I had the money, I would probably get it.
Yeah.
Because it is cool. Like the small snippet of the graphic novel that's in Arcanum Unbounded looks super cool, and the powers are really interesting. There's just not much like lore drops or anything like that.
Yeah. I figure whenever we get the official prose version, it's going to be amazing. But who knows? Omnibus may hold us over.
Yeah, maybe. And also, The Emperor's New Soul, which was like an award-winning novella, that's on sale. And so that one's also peak. So
Really
I'm excited
looking
for you to
forward
read that.
one. Yeah. Well, I think that's everything for today. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Cool. All right, audience, thank you so much for listening. As I said earlier in the video, next week is going to be our Wind and Truth spoiler cast, so if you haven't finished it yet, definitely don't turn into that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, don't listen to that one.
But yeah, we'll see you next week.
And
Bye
hey,
now.
Love yourself today. Have sweet dreams. Goodbye.